Listener submissions have been edited for length and anonymized. Names, identifying details, and any references to specific public figures have been removed or altered. All submissions are used with permission, and this episode represents listener experiences and April Rain's editorial response. This is not clinical advice. And if you are in crisis, please reach out to a professional. But please make sure that that professional actually knows your name. So this week, you all sent me something. And by you, I don't mean a lot of people. However, I did receive quite a few things from several different people. And there was a theme. I didn't ask for a theme, I asked for observations. Observations of things that you've noticed in your own life that this show has made you look at differently. Just generalized, open-ended. And you all came back with one specific thing over and over and over again in about 40 different emotional registers. And what you all came back to me with was grief. Not the kind of grief that accompanies a funeral or a casserole, but the other kind. The kind where you're mourning something that technically was never yours to lose in the first place. The kind that has no name, no permission, and no social script. You sent me the grief of ending a parasocial relationship. Now, before we go any further, I want to be very clear about something. I am aware, both painfully and completely aware, that this podcast in itself is a parasocial relationship. You listen to me, and I don't know that you're here, and you feel like you know me, but I am performing a version of myself that just makes good audio. And this is the thing. The irony does not escape me. It has, in fact, set up camp and started charging rent in my head. But we're going to get into that. But first, I want to talk about the submissions. I'm April Rain, and this is This Could Be a Cult, the show where we look at the mechanisms underneath normal life and ask why they feel so familiar. Today is a Listener Files episode, which means that this one belongs to you. Or, more accurately, this one is about you. And there is a difference. And that difference is the whole episode. All right. So I want to read you all a submission. This is from listener A. I've been following this person online for about 6 years. And I know their dog's name, their coffee order, the way they laugh at their own jokes before the punchline. And last month they said something in a video that just didn't match who I thought they were. And I cried. Real crying. And then I spent 3 days feeling insane because what was I even mourning? They didn't even know I exist. Excuse that voice, that was my attempt at being someone else. They didn't know I exist. That sentence came in 11 different versions this week in submissions. 11 different people, different situations, different people they were talking about. But the exact same sentence at the end, like an apology, and like they owed me an explanation for why they were feeling something that wasn't valid. And here's what I want to say about that. That feeling is valid. That feeling is also a mechanism. And these two things, they're not in conflict, and that's on purpose. Parasocial grief is real because the relationship is real, in the sense that it occupied real emotional space. You made real cognitive investments. You had real dopamine responses, and your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a person in your living room and a voice in your earbuds 3 times a week for 6 years. Your brain has built a model of that person. It stored preferences, patterns, and expectations. And when those expectations are violated, the model breaks. And something broke. And that's not delusion. That's just pathology. That's just what happens when something you built, even something you built entirely on your own head, well, that's what happens when that gets knocked over. And the grief is proportional to the investment because the investment was real. So that grief is also real. But what isn't real, and this is the part that matters, is the evidence of a relationship. So here's another submission, and this is from listener B. So I know it's not rational, but every time I see them with someone new or doing something that feels like it's moving away from what they used to be, it feels like being left behind. Like I'm watching someone I love change and they didn't even know I was watching. Let that sit for a second. Like I'm watching someone I love change. And I want to stay with that word, love. Because here's the thing about parasocial relationships. The emotions that you feel, they're not counterfeit. Listener B is not performing love. They are confused about what love is. And they have genuinely organized a portion of their emotional life around someone else's existence. That's real emotional labor. That's real cognitive real estate. The problem isn't the emotion. The problem is the architecture. You built it in a one-way street, and then you get hurt that the traffic never goes the other way. And that's not your fault. That's the design. And I want to talk about who designed it. I want to make something perfectly clear. You did not develop a parasocial attachment because you were broken. You developed it because you were put in front of a system that was specifically engineered to produce one. And let's be clear about what that system is, too. Every platform that benefits from your attention is optimized for exactly that feeling, for the feeling that you know that person, that they are talking to you specifically, that you are in a relationship with them, and it's not transactional. The intimacy cues are not accidental. The direct address like, hey guys, or I wanted to tell you something, these are not conversational tics. They are proximity signals. They are the verbal equivalent of leaning in, and they trigger the same neural pathways as face-to-face disclosures. Your brain hears someone tell you something personal, and it files it under, this person trusts me. The person chose to tell me this, and that's what your brain does. It's not a bug, it's a feature that gets exploited. And now here's a submission from listener C. I realized I knew more about this creator's anxiety disorder than I knew about my own sister's life. And I felt more anxious about their episodes than I did about my sister's. And then I had to just kind of sit with that. Listener C had to sit with that. And so do we. Because what they're describing is not a failure of their relationship with their sister. It's an asymmetry of access. Their sister doesn't perform vulnerability on a schedule. Their sister's hard days are not context for a video. The creator's anxiety was shared at the optimal moment in the optimal format with the optimal resolution because it was produced. It had a beginning, middle, and an end. Real relationships don't have production value. Real relationships are messy and incomplete and don't come with a like and subscribe. You are not failing at human connection because you feel more connected to a stranger online. You are responding exactly as you were designed to respond, to a design that serves the platform way more than it will ever serve you. And as I said at the top of the episode, I am perfectly aware of the irony here. And let me actually be honest about it. This podcast, the one you are currently in a parasocial relationship with, is doing the same thing I just described. I am using direct address. I am sharing things that feel personal, and I am building a voice that sounds like I'm talking to you specifically. And some of you, I know this because you wrote to me, feel like you know me, or at least know me a little bit. And you feel like we are having some type of relationship. We are not, and we will not. I am a voice in your ears. And I don't know what happened to you this week. I don't know your name, and I don't know if you're okay. I genuinely cannot know these things. And the fact that this show sometimes feels like I might is a feature of the format and not evidence of any type of bond. And I want to be the show that tells you that, while you're still wanting to listen, of course. And that actually is a hard needle to thread, and I'm not sure that I always do it right. But the alternative, that the show performs intimacy without naming it as a performance, that's not a podcast. That's actually a recruitment tactic. And you deserve to know the difference. So let's take a look at a submission from listener, we'll call them listener D. They said, "Your show made me realize I was in a parasocial relationship with a wellness influencer. And that felt exactly like the coercive dynamics that you described. Gradually doing more, spending more, believing more, because I wanted to be the kind of person that she would approve of. And she doesn't even know that I exist. She doesn't even know that I exist." Again, that sentence. Listener D figured out that they were performing for an audience of one, and that audience was actually a projection. And they weren't trying to please a person, they were trying to please their own idea of that person and what that person would want. And that right there, that is the mechanism. When the parasocial relationship becomes aspirational, when the creator becomes not just someone you watch, but someone whose gaze you're living under. And that is when it crosses into territory that this show will have something more to say about. Tomorrow, actually. But that's for tomorrow. So now I want to walk you through some signs that show that you're in a parasocial relationship and that parasocial relationship has gotten way too load-bearing for you. You felt grief, not disappointment, but actual legitimate grief. The grief you feel when a creator changed, went quiet, or turned out to be someone different than you thought. You know more about a stranger's inner life than you know about people who are actually in your own life. And you've defended this person to another person, not their work, but them, personally, as if you had some type of investment in standing. And their mood affects your mood. If they've had a bad day, you've had a bad day. And if they win, you've won. You've imagined meeting them, and not in a fan meets celebrity way, but in a they would finally see me kind of way. You've spent money, time, or emotional energy to be closer to someone who you cannot get any closer to and won't get any closer to you. If you're in this, and most of us are in some type of version of it if we're being honest with ourselves, the question then becomes isn't how to get out. There is no clean exit from a culture designed to keep you in it. The question becomes, how load-bearing is this? What is it holding up? And what would happen if it wasn't there at all? Those are not rhetorical questions, by the way. I want you to sit with them. So on Tuesday, the full episode on parasocial relationships drops. It's going to dive way deeper into the architecture, not just what parasocial relationships feel like, but why they work the way that they work, who profits from them, and what it has in common with the other dynamics that we talk about on this show. And if today's episode makes you want to call someone that you've been neglecting because you've been busy following a stranger on the internet, please do it. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, do it. The stranger on the internet will still be there, I promise you. Well, maybe. Probably. Because your algorithm is going to make sure of it. And to everyone who sent something in, I thank you. Not for the content, but for the honesty and for being willing to name the thing. Because that's not easy. And that is the whole point of this show. I'm April Rain, and this has been This Could Be a Cult. You already know the rules.